Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to be looking at the natural and cultural places of significance in the province of Alberta in regards to our Indigenous history in this province. So, we're going to be starting by looking at Turtle Island. So, on this slide here, it gives you some key vocabulary. So, First Nations. A First Nation is a distinct nation or group of Indigenous people with their own languages, traditions, protocols, spiritual, and cultural practices. Each group has their own traditional government with hereditary leaders or leaders chosen by the people of the group. When you hear the terms First Nations, Métis, and Inuit, is used to refer to the diversity of Indigenous peoples. This diversity is represented in part through the different languages, communities, and groups of the Indigenous peoples in Alberta. The word Indigenous, it's used to internationally to refer to the descendants of the original inhabitants of an area. And then lastly, the term Turtle Island, it's the name or reference for North America through an Indigenous lens. And you'll hear Turtle Island used in some of the videos that we're going to be looking at today. So on slide 4 here, it's the story of Whiskey Jack, which is a First Nations story of how North America came to be. So it's a Cree creation story. So we're going to take a look at this video. And once we're done, we have some questions to think about. Oh.
Long ago, the Great Mystery, or Kichi-Manitou, sent a great flood. Many of the animals drowned, but there was one man, Wisakejak, who survived on a small island with some animals. They worked together to build a great canoe. They rowed the big canoe for many days. One day the rain stopped, but Wisakejak realized he had forgotten to bring along a piece of the earth to recreate a new world. The only way to get a piece of earth was to dive to the bottom of the ocean. Wisakejak tied a vine to the Kichiamik, a giant beaver, and told him to dive to the depths of the water for some earth. They waited and waited. Finally, Wisakejak pulled up the exhausted Kichiamik, but there was no earth. Next, he told Ningig, the otter, to dive for the earth, but the same thing happened. Finally, the Wajusk, or muskrat, offered to try. Wisakejak lowered the vine, and the muskrat went down and down, further into the ocean. He was down so long, all the other animals thought for sure he was dead. They pulled his lifeless body into the canoe. Wajusk was dead, but inside his tiny paw, he clutched a tiny piece of earth. The muskrat had sacrificed his life so that life on Earth could start again. And then Turtle came forward and offered to bear the weight of this piece of earth so it can grow. Suddenly, the wind blew from the 4 directions, and the tiny piece of earth on the turtle's back began to grow. It grew until it formed an island in the water. After a while, the 4 winds ceased to blow, and the waters became still. A huge island sat in the middle of the water, and today that island is known as North America, the land the First Nations have lived on for thousands of years.
So that was the Turtle Island Cree creation story. So after watching that video, I want you to think about the following questions. What is Turtle Island? What is the relationship between Turtle Island and First Nations? How does Turtle Island represent the relationship between people and nature? What do you think First Nations peoples believe the land gives them? And how do you think they would treat the land? So you can go ahead and pause this video and do some thinking about those questions. Next, we're going to look at Elder John Janvier shares that the Dene people have stories that go far back in the past. These stories tell us that the Dene people were here before others had come across land and water to Turtle Island or North America, such as the Europeans. So we're going to listen to what John Janvier, the elder, has to share. So once you're going through these slides yourself, you can just click on the highlighted blue words to get to the link, which is here. So we're going to watch this video.
The origins of Aboriginal people, we read books all the time. We open a history book and Native people that came through the Bering Strait. We read that all the time, and we get to believe things like that, and we hear it so many times. We read it so many times, we think it's authentic. But in our stories, we have stories about beings that nobody knows about, or today they're just fossils. And these were our everyday stories about animals and beings that no longer exist. And I'm sure they were gone before 10, 11,000 years ago. So just our stories tell us that we were here already before we decided to cross the Bering Strait. That's my belief anyway. I think a lot of people believe that. I know a lot of other language groups say that they originated here on this continent, Turtle Island. They never came from anywhere. And I think some of the stories, the original Dene story, the Dene people, it's a huge nation. And today there's like diversity. There's Dene people out in the southwest in the desert. Stories that come from the northwest, Alaska, was that there was the people, the Dene people, were all living in one area, and sometimes close to after the world began, there was a huge eruption, and people knew that it was going to happen, so they all went their own ways away, to safety. And that is the reason why the Dene people are all scattered all over on the continent. And there was one group that went and they actually crossed. And those are the ones that are in Asia. We didn't come here, they went. And I think the Mongolian story is that they got there, and that's why they're there. They were from elsewhere, but they got there. And so that's their story.
So in that video, he's sharing that the Dene people believe that they originated on Turtle Island, or what we call the North America continent.
The origins of Aboriginal.
So if I go back to the slides here, I apologize. Okay, so the next piece we're going to look at is natural places of significance. So within Alberta, we have lots of places that are significant to our history and especially connected to the history of Indigenous people in this province. They were here first, so there's a lot of history connected to them. So some of the places that hold elements of this history include Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump, which you may have heard of before. And there's a video up here that we're going to watch about this place to help us understand the significance.
Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump is a place where our ancestors had survived for thousands of years by running buffalo over the cliff. It provided the food and shelter and clothing to carry our people through those strong winters. The buffalo would be running full speed, and it's an optical illusion. They don't know that there's a 30-foot drop, and the sun is helping blind them.
The drumming, I feel like it's part of your soul. It's like the heartbeat. So getting to walk up and experience that up here was pretty amazing.
Being around all the elders and the dancers, it's really special because it means so much to them. They don't want their culture to end, so they're always telling other people their stories so they can tell their friends and their children.
The buffalo runners, they were considered gifts from the Creator. They were the ones who were tasked to keep those buffalo within those drive lanes.
I want them to experience this and know where we've all come from.
I truly believe that if a person comes here, spends a couple hours, they're going to make that connection with that spirit.
So that video shared the significance of this place. This place was really important to Indigenous groups that would run the buffalo off of this area, which would help them provide for their families. And we've learned before about how the Indigenous people use all the parts of the buffalo, including the meat and the skin and all these different pieces to sustain different pieces of their lives. The next place that we're going to look at is in Okotoks. In Okotoks, there is I believe it's called the Erraticus Rock. And I know for my class that we had Mr. Scout come in and tell us the story of this place. However, if you're not in my class, you can always Google the big rock in Okotoks and you'll find the story of this rock. I've just added a link there where you can find information on the erratic big rock in Okotoks on the Government of Alberta website if you're interested in learning more. In Margerville, there is a medicine wheel, and that's a place of significance in that area. There is paint pots, and you can read that picture there to learn more about those. There's Dry Island Buffalo Jump, and once again, there's a video included here which we'll watch.
So let me talk a bit about this particular site. This is the Dry Island Buffalo Jump. Now, Native peoples hunted in many different ways, but there were two types of communal hunting. One was pounding animals, and what they would do is they would build drive lanes and corrals made out of wood, and they would drive animals into these pounds. And there's an entire book on communal hunting, bison hunting, that was done, and they talk about pounds. Rebecca Todd did this, and they talk about bison pounding. So you need wood, and you need area where there are lots of bison, of course, and then you would begin to drive these animals into a narrower and narrower gap, and finally into a corral where they would then be shot at by bow and arrow or by atlatl throwing spear. So that is a pump.
So I'm just going to pause it there. This video is linked right here. It's about 5 minutes long, so you can finish watching that if you're interested in learning more. And then if we continue on in the slides here, there's also cultural places of significance in our province, including Blackfoot Crossing and Writing on Stone, which also has a video attached. So this is the video for Writing on Stone. I'll just play the beginning of it.
Netaniko apinako istabik. Amok mista pskoksika netaniko isoyawa. O kimista pskoksika nika netaniko sokapin. Nachsik nitsin nakhutsi spinna nitsin skas minasken kay nisto nisoko seksta ko khat kotay. There's a lot of things that kind of kick in. For me, when I'm here and I look around, my grandparents, I see them. I could feel them. Grandfather said, don't ever lose the old ways. Always remember when you come here, you pay homage to the spirits and your ancestors. My responsibilities to share my stories with my children, my grandchildren, as they were shared with me. My name is Alvin Many Chief. Ever since I was a toddler, I was brought here by my grandparents. I was brought here by my parents. It's a very sacred place for the Blackfoot people, for a lot of Plains tribes people.
My name is Kavina Weasel Moccasin. I was born a Many Chief. My father here, Alvin Many Chief. We are from the Kainai Nation, and I am part of the Many Children's Clan. My father brought me and my youngest brother. He gave us tobacco to leave offerings. He sang our clan song. We prayed. And then he interpreted the images for us. Little did I know at the time, I would later be an interpreter here and work here. And the interpretations that he shared with me that day, I was then able to share with people who came to visit us from all over the world.
All the Plains tribes that came, this is where they were drawn to come to this sacred land, to pursue their vision quests and to record.
Whether you're a spiritual person or not, as soon as you step off your vehicle, you're immersed in this landscape, you feel that energy. And it means different things to different people, but everybody feels that connection. It's really important for me to bring my son here so that he feels that connection to this land and to his ancestors. And it's such a unique place with such a unique energy that no matter where you're coming from, you're going to have those lasting memories, or something's going to happen here to really help you connect and always remember this place and have it hold a special place in your heart.
I want to come here when I'm 99, and I want to hear my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren still singing our songs out here. That's what I want. The memories are there and the stories are there. You carry those memories and you carry those stories.
Gives me goosebumps to hear them sharing their connections to their land. Like you can tell what a special place this is to them, but not only to them, but to other Albertans that are able to go visit this place. So I've shared some places with you today. cultural places and natural places of significance. However, there are many more. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is there's some reflection pieces here. So these natural and cultural places of significance, like writing on stone and head smash and buffalo jump, have marked these lands for centuries. These sites are some examples of places that Indigenous peoples and their generations have met and gathered for thousands of years. These relationships help form their entire culture, way of life, and the way they see the world. Many Indigenous people share stories of their relationship to the land, and these stories continue to be passed down from generation to generation through an oral tradition of stories and narratives. Even today, we can observe the close personal relationship First Nations people have with the land. So now that you've seen some of these different places shared in the slides here and through the videos and websites, what I'm going to ask you to do on the last slide, slide 17, is to do a little bit of research. So choose one place of natural or cultural significance of Indigenous people, or to Indigenous people, and I want you to find 3 pieces of information about it. So for example, so you could choose any of these places here that we've looked at. So you can go back through, find something that you're interested in learning a little bit more about. You can use any links attached, but you can also do your own research using Google. And then on this last slide here, you're going to type in what place did you choose to investigate, and what are 3 pieces of information that you found out about it. So you can pull these from the websites, from the videos, or from your own research. When this slide is complete, then you can submit your assignment in Google Classroom. Good luck, and I hope you enjoy learning a little bit more about some of these amazing places in Alberta.